Hello, my name is Lexus Looters, and the book that I have chosen for the Module 2 Reading Log Reflection is called Pax. It's a chapter book. It's by Sarah Pennypacker, and the illustrator is John Clausen. The publisher is HarperCollins. Copyright date 2016, and the genre was a little kind of up in the air. I said contemporary realistic fiction, and then fiction because the animals kind of talk to each other back and forth. It's also informational in terms of like kind of the history of the war and science and stuff like that. Number of pages, there's 276 pages, and it was appropriate for the ages of 8 to 12 is what I said. A summary of the story: the main characters are Pax and Peter. Peter is the little boy, and he actually adopted Pax when Pax was a kid. He's had him forever, but his dad actually chooses to go off to war, so he's forced to let Pax go out into the wild. His dad kind of makes him make that decision on his own. So Peter chooses to drop him off at a mine. He figured out that would be like kind of the safest bet, so that's just what he decided personally. So after they drop him off, Peter starts to feel a little bit of guilt from back in his past, so he decides to go back actually after Pax out in the wild. And on his way, he actually ends up hurting his foot, and he runs into a lady named Vola. Vola is a veteran, and she actually took Peter in and kind of helped him out a little bit with his foot, and they kind of got to know each other. Peter kind of settled her down in some of her feelings about, being a war vet, and then Vola actually tended to make Peter feel a little bit more calm about himself and his anger and everything, because he had a lot of internal anger issues about his dad going off to war and stuff, and how he dealt with some of those. The illustrations, there are very few in the story, but when there are, they're very black and dark, and detail is pretty. It tells a kind of the feeling of the story is kind of. The setting is at the mine that he drops him off at, Peter's grandfather's house, and then Vola's house, where he actually gets his foot kind of healed up a little bit. The themes of the story would include the effects of the war and taming one's anger. As you kind of read the story and read what it's about and stuff, you kind of notice Peter does have a very angry attitude towards some of that stuff, and then the effects of the war with his dad going off to war, he kind of starts to handle that a little better as the story goes on. Reflective personal response. I saw this is a good job, and it teaches us how to cope with our internal emotions, particularly anger in this story. It also introduces the immense effects of war on little kids and of people of all ages, just in general. This would be a great time for you to kind of introduce this to your students and get them kind of getting in their contact feels with maybe if they have family members in the war, kind of start talking about their personal experiences. One strategy I said you could have students bring in pictures of, if they had family that was in the war, they could bring in a picture of them, or if they had a very if they had like a pet that they were close to, maybe getting that feeling of like if you were forced to let them go because something came into your life, such as an important thing such as war. So yeah, this is just another thing they could do is a Venn diagram, kind of fill that out and kind of do compare and contrast of how they would feel if they were Pax, what they would have done the same in terms of going back. If they were Peter, what they would have done in terms of going back to save Pax, and what they would have done differently and the same as what Peter did. So that's just a little bit about my Reading Log Module 2 reflection. So thanks for listening.